let's see, we are 4:59 PM on Tuesday, December 10th for Prairie Hill School District number 133. Those in attendance are
Tina Anderson.
Josh Hendricks,
What's it?
Misty, do you have anything to add that you wanna say?
Yeah, if I could please. I didn't know like where the board was on the city of South Plate's proposal for the school district to forego 2 years of property taxes on specific new home builds. But if there's still time to address that from the public. I feel like the school district has really done their part in making this area attractive to home buyers. I often hear people saying that they come to this district specifically for the Willowbrook School District, that they come to this community for that. I know that's why actually we moved here from Rockford. And it seems like in coming to some of these meetings that with the school district not being fully funded by the state and running in deficits, that foregoing tax dollars on specific homes for a period of 2 years, and then also incurring the cost of educating any children that come from those homes. On top of that, it just seems like that would further increase the burden to the school. And just from personal experience, like with my stepson, he just purchased a home in the area, and it seems that if the homes are available, they're selling. It's not a matter of people being interested or needing to be incentivized to come to the area. So giving up the funding for that, I'm not sure how that makes sense for the financial purposes of the school. That's all.
Okay. Agenda topics, review of December bills. Tina, you're going through that now. I'll go through when you're done. Monthly deposits, review of monthly deposits, activity accounts, and treasurer report.
Let's see. So I was in there quick, I apologize, I was down out yesterday, so I've been playing catch up all day.
You're sick too?
Yeah.
Everybody's got it. Here's a list, festival invoice, here's a list of all your ILME kids.
Oh, perfect. You got the bills, activity.
Jason Kentucky, was that the blue guy?
So, nope, that is a guy that, we are going to go see in January. We're partnering with Kinnickinnick School District. He's a former educator. I think he might still need education, but he does like, inspirational speeches and whatnot, motivational speeches, that sort of thing. So in the afternoon on our institute day, we're gonna partner with them and go there. I watch his little TED Talks, and he does some like artist type stuff on the side. Seems like a pretty cool dude. So it's always nice to have a inspiration / motivation
Yeah.
individual in January when things are
Gloomy.
middle of the year, a little gloomy. Yeah.
Where are we with water tanks?
That's a good question. We haven't really made a final decision on them yet. I know Jimmy was talking to and then apples to apples. We talked last month a little bit about it. I don't think you were here, Tina.
Or is it finance, just not at
At the board?
the board meeting?
Yeah, so we haven't made a final decision on that yet. I think the other aspect too that I talked to Jimmy about was, if we're gonna have him do it, we gotta purchase a plasma torch or something unless you know somebody who has one.
I'm sure I can
That's a
find that.
couple grand or
This
so.
is for taking the, just cutting the tanks out and getting them out.
If we were gonna do
Okay.
that on our own, yeah. Cause that would cut down
Have we looked into a rental?
a few grand. No, we have not. I can tell you from talking to him, like there are other things that he could use it for if we purchased it as a district, but
Have you looked up cost?
yeah, they're like 2 to 3, I think, for what would work for us. It's like 3/8 of an inch, if I remember correctly. And he's thinking it's probably around that for the thickness of the wall. I have no
And the
idea.
plasma torch is how, 2 to 300?
Grand.
2 to 3 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, they weren't.
I guess I would need, it'd be good to understand what all he
Okay.
intends to use it for.
Yeah, sure.
And then have him call, like Lincoln Rental or someplace like that
Yeah,
and
he
find
does
out
that
what,
quite a bit.
yeah, what rental costs would
Okay.
be and if they have access to it, if they don't, who would, and. If it's something we're using
Spare.
once or twice a year,
Sure.
it's $200, I mean, we can get a lot of
Absolutely.
legroom on that.
It's frustrating.
To grab the activity reports from the, secretaries. I'll get those uploaded tomorrow.
When did those chairs come in?
Not yet. We're working on purchasing those. They're being a little difficult with purchasing and credit and whatnot for the chairs. So we're gonna,
The supplier is?
yeah.
How so?
So we were gonna just purchase it with credit card, and each credit card has a limit to it, and so it's, I don't know that we have one above 10
Who's it
grand or
through?
so.
Who's our card through?
Oh, Capital One?
Cause you should be able to call and get a temporary increase on the limit,
Okay.
just get a 24 or 48 hour increase on the limit. Just explain, they need, a lot of times they might ask, who's the vendor, what's the dollar amount, and they might ask for a copy of the invoice.
Sure. Capital One.
Cause the limits are there to protect us as the customer.
Absolutely.
So if we as the customer call them and say, this is a vendor we'd like to place this purchase with, can you raise our limit for a 24 hour period to X?
Sure. Yeah, so they said we need to fill out a credit report or credit.
But the supplier's fine with us
Them.
paying with, credit app.
Yeah, and then they only approve us for like 3,500, and it's like, well, that's not even
Yeah,
a quarter
yeah.
of the purchase. We can do that.
What's our spending limit, 5?
It's like 5 to 10 depending upon
Who the vendor is?
well, and who the person is on the credit card.
Oh, yeah, right.
When you get done, don't forget to.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get the activity accounts from, Chris and Carrie Ann.
Okay.
We're a little early this month, so they may not have put them in yet.
Can I steal your pen? Or borrow it?
Yeah, don't steal it, it's the only one I have.
Do we wanna take a look at the tax levy?
Yep, I'm in it now.
Okay, so just a quick preview of what I'll be presenting next Wednesday. In education, I'm gonna look to, so if you remember, it's usually about the same amount of money, it's just where we divvy it up, right? Where we put the emphasis on it. So in education, I'm looking to up that a bit, this year, a little different, or as I similarly do, each year. But put a little bit more in there and cut in a couple other areas, just to base on salary schedule, raises, the amount of staff that we have, so on and so forth. So, looking to increase that by $192,500. In operations and maintenance. That one I'm looking to up around $70,000, as we all know. That's something I've steadily built up over the course of my tenure here, just because the need has gotten there. So additional positions, and also just different things that we're looking at. You know, we've talked about buying a scissor lift for 2-3 years. Maybe this is the year we finally do that in both buildings, because they're definitely getting to the point where they need to. Another anticipated possible expenditures, classroom flooring, over at Prairie Hill especially, but something we just need to keep in mind. This building, while it looks new, it was built in 2009, so at some point we're gonna have to start addressing, you know, refreshing classrooms and other things here too. So bumping that up a little bit from last year to 70,000 more than typical. IMRF, that's about a 5% increase. That's what I looked at there. Same with Social Security. Transportation, about $37,000 less. So then we could put that into operations and maintenance or into education, depending upon how that worked out.
Less?
What's that?
Why is that less?
We have a pretty sizable fund balance in transportation right now, and I think it would be best to put that money in O&M and education, spend that down a little bit. There's really no reason to have the balance that we currently have. So that would definitely be helpful to do that. And then also, we're currently working on negotiations with First Student on a 5-year deal. And if that happens, then I think we'll be in pretty good shape and we'll be able to budget for the next 5 years. I talked to education a little bit about that the other day, and it seems like they're willing to bring in some good numbers. So we haven't reached a consensus yet on what that looks like, but if we can get that 5 years and it can keep us from going to bid, and because if you remember the last time we went to bid, it kind of bit us a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they were pretty much the only player in town, so we want to make sure that we do what's best for us and the taxpayers. Working cash, keeping that at 5,000 again, just to keep that money in there and keep that flowing. Fire prevention and safety, around $10,000, just like typical, 10,500.
Which is only a $500 delta.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Special education, bumping that up 5,000. I just have typically brought that up a little bit every year because our special education needs are continuously increasing, and that doesn't even put a dent in it, but from a tax levy aspect of it, it allows us to have some money for taxpayer purposes.
Is that something that's happening across the board with other districts as well?
Special education?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's increased exponentially with us and also others. I don't know if COVID had a lot to do with that, but there's just a lot more services that are needed for students, from an educational standpoint, from a social standpoint. And special education just isn't IEP students, right?
Right.
It's also support services like our psychologists that we've hired, our social workers that we've hired. And there are students that sometimes the placement here isn't working out. You know, they're home districts, so we have to find other placements that fit their needs and fit their abilities. So
are there any ADA, does ADA come out of that budget if there's any kind of special needs we need to modify for school? I mean, as far as a budget standpoint, does it come out of that?
No, it's typically straight to the students, yeah. And there are other, I mean, we can spend education money on that. There's also IDEA money, which is our federal grant that we get. And that's typically 120 to 150,000. Our co-op bill is around $250,000 to $350,000 a year, and that takes care of, it used to take care of our outsourcing of speech and other services, and since we all have that all in-house now, it's essentially if they have programs where students go to that have, you know, special needs that we aren't able to meet, or there are other co-op services that they can offer that we can't, like our PT and our OT. It wouldn't do us any good to hire a physical therapist or an occupational therapist because of the amount that they are and the services that they provide for the students, the select number of students that we have. So it makes more sense to outsource. So that bill just continues to get higher. So 75,000 isn't a lot of money, but it at least helps, right? And then just in the last couple slides, just an idea about how much we've actually gotten in money versus our fund balances. And as you can see in the transportation, as of July 1, we're at $470,000. There's no reason to have $500,000 within that.
Right.
So the idea would be to start kind of
Spending down
slowly,
and
steadily,
moving that.
over the next few years, and putting that into O&M or education. We'll want to keep a fund balance in there, obviously, because things happen, right?
Definitely O&M.
Yeah, definitely O&M.
Wish those were flipped.
Yeah.
I know, yep. Well, and we can, and by continuing to levy more in O&M each year,
Mhm.
that's going to help build that up.
Just thinking on the fire prevention and safety and the meetings in Chicago, one of them I went to was on the Parkland school shooting and all the things lessons learned.
Sure.
Did the locks get replaced?
Yeah,
And-
actually, I think Jimmy just has a few more here. Prairie Hill's all done.
Do we have a threat assessment team?
Mhm.
And do they meet regularly?
Yep.
Like how often?
Yeah, at least annually, if not.
Okay. They were
Biannually.
suggesting.
And with county here and with South Beloit.
They were suggesting every other month,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
And just the amount of things, obviously it's crazy expensive, but the amount of things that, Florida has done since then, I'm not quite sure why all the states aren't doing it, because Florida state government funded the majority of the improvements to the schools.
Okay.
And obviously Illinois started broke, but I
Sure.
just didn't know if we're looking at are there other things that the threat assessment team has recommended? That maybe we wanna put money in the fire and safety fund for?
Nothing from a physical standpoint outside of what we've talked about, bulletproof film before, right?
Mhm.
We're always looking to increase our cameras. That's something that we might need to do here in the next year or two, is maybe re-outfit the cameras
We
that we
did,
have.
we did doors, we implemented Raptor, we now have the locks. Next step will be, filming the windows.
Has there ever been discussion about metal detector at the doors or no?
No, we haven't.
And then what do you call them, the officer?
Not the
SRO. Yeah.
They have one at every single school in the state of Florida now. It's
Really?
mandated.
Is that state funded or district
State.
funded?
State funded, yeah.
Interesting.
That was one of my questions to the speakers, was it's like phenomenal, and it's sad that that had to happen in Florida
Sure.
for those kind of changes to happen, but are the rest of the states just waiting for something? I mean, why,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it should be funded, yes, where's the money
Yep.
gonna come from? You gotta print it, you know, but I'm just surprised that the feds haven't done something to match the level of security that Florida put in.
Yeah.
Cause it was really eye-opening, especially after the very, very detailed graphic.
Mhm.
They did a tour of it before they tore it down,
Oh, really?
and everything was standstill from when it happened, like
Nothing was changed.
nothing.
Yeah.
And then they went in and talked, you know, they showed pictures, and a bunch of ladies were crying and had to leave. I mean, it was really graphic.
Sure.
But they were just like, you know, all these things that we should be doing, and I'm going down the list, I'm like, I don't think we're doing any of
This
these
was at
things.
state conference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, the Chicago, well, yeah,
Chicago,
yeah, Chicago, yeah. Yeah, it was eye-opening.
Mhm.
It just, I left feeling naked security wise, do you know what I mean? I
The
was
worst,
like,
the
oh
worst
my
part
God.
about it is, I mean,
And we're like sitting ducks out here.
you can do all the things, and then there's always ways, you know? So we'll do what we can within the means that we have, for now at least.
Yeah. But there's nothing that people have suggested that we haven't,
The film is probably the
Implemented
biggest thing,
funding-wise?
like when they come for the active shooter drills, the police always, you know, you should be doing this, or just little tweaks that we can do. Overall, they've been very complimentary of both buildings on how we handle things. So I think the locks will also be a very big.
There's a lot of, you know, things like Kevlar wall film, things like that you can do where you don't have to, you know, you don't have to use Kevlar drywall or lead line drywall and things that would go into, say, like a bank or high security facility.
Yeah.
That we can apply that will be kind of absorbent, you know, as far as non-penetration for rounds up to a certain caliber, and so all steps that we can take as we go, but things like, you know, block building, block walls, fantastic, you know, in the schools, so. It's more for our drywall partition walls and that.
Mhm.
But obviously, keeping the threat out of the building entirely
Yeah.
has been our focus now, and that's why the film will probably be the next step of allocation of funds.
Which isn't cheap,
no.
but definitely helpful. Yeah, so any questions on the preview of the levy?
No.
Okay, so then we can move on actually to the health and life safety survey. I have a draft in there for you. I sat down with Wold a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and talked to him a little bit more at the conference. And this is essentially, some of the things that they have put together for violation list. We have to approve this at, Wednesday's board meeting, that we've basically acknowledged as a district that we've had a health and life safety done. By signing off on that, they send that to the state, and then we work through the, priority codes, A, B, C. Kirsta had mentioned that some of these within here, you know, if they're considered OSHA.
How can I rotate
I
it?
was just gonna say, it's sideways.
Yeah, so if you,
Just go like this.
yeah, you can
I'm trying
download it
to,
too.
trying to right click it. and it
Usually
doesn't
there's a
give me that
little
option.
rotate
Yeah.
button, but I don't.
If you download it and then open up the file manager
Oh,
and then open
that's
it up
fine.
from the downloads, that'll do it.
I can read sideways.
Yeah, this is easier.
Looks great.
Sorry about that.
So-
But some of them it says like OSHA standard, and you can see like there's a $60,000
Mhm.
aspect of it, and then there's another one I think that's a real a higher dollar amount. Those aren't things that we necessarily have to do. It's just a recommendation by OSHA. So
So the missing fire alarm devices in all the classrooms?
let's see.
It's a big violation
Visual
list.
light, orb strobe. Yeah, like those are C's. So those are things that we can easily take care of.
Okay.
And we've got 10 years to do it. Overall, she said we're in really good shape in both buildings, which is great to hear. We had quite a list the last 10-year health and life safety. So we'll just start picking these off. One of the bigger ones is just a ventilation over at Prairie Hill that we had talked about over the,
And just put in perspective, that's a horn strobe in every, you know, every single classroom, as opposed to, believe me, as you know, when they do a fire drill, I mean, you can,
Oh,
You
yeah.
know
there's no question that
Yeah.
you know that that's
Yeah.
happening. The
Yeah.
decibel level of the ones that are in the
Yeah.
hallways and in each intersection are.
so kind of like a lot of things when they do these walkthroughs, it almost seems like, not that they're looking for things, but you know, they're putting them on there for things that we need to do. But overall, we're in really good shape.
Okay.
So you can take a look at that. So we'll vote on that and sign off on that on Wednesday. And then just wanted to give you a heads up that, like most years, we did have some tax appeals. We had 7 of them actually, and we partnered with, those are in the drive. We partnered with Hananiga to do,
Was, Camping World again?
All World.
All World.
Yep, yep, they were on there. Who else was on there? I think it was All Corporation, if I remember correctly.
Pot store.
Sunnyside?
I've never seen such a busy parking lot.
There was,
Does that fall in our district?
I think, I don't know why I would.
yeah, that's us.
Yeah, that's all the way up here by the gas station.
Yeah, so Loves did, All World did. Road Ranger, right up there.
Where are the appeals? I'm sorry.
If you look in, it's in the finance folder. I believe it was under, there's a folder called tax appeals.
It's at the very, very top.
So I don't know if anything will come of it, but, so in finance, there's a tax appeals folder, you
Mhm.
see it?
Yep, I got it.
And you can see what they were assessed at and then what they're claiming for it, that they want it to be or it should be. So we went with Hananiga to intervene like we typically do. And we'll see if anything happens from it, so they'll at least go in and make a case, I guess. I think 7's probably the most that we've had in a while though. It's usually just 2, 3, 4.
I have to leave here in like 1 minute.
Okay.
Pick up number 2, take her to lessons, and come back, pick up number 1.
The final thing that I just wanted to let you know is, our insurance rates came back and it's not as bad as I originally anticipated. They originally came back with a 29.9% increase. As you know, we've had a lot going on in the
Yeah.
district. So they were able to negotiate it down to 17.4, Gallagher was, so. This is, I tell you this,
Did
just
we go to market or did we just negotiate with existing?
negotiate with existing. Josh, I don't know if you were here when we talked about this, cause this was very early on in my tenure. The idea at some point will be to see if we can join, we have an insurance cooperative
Co-op, yeah.
in the area. They wanted us to join. When I first started, I talked to the board. As a board, it made sense to not join because the premiums literally were less like the first 2 years. So
Yeah,
how can
till
we
you
say
get to
no
a
that?
certain number, I'm in the same boat, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in that sweet spot, you know, with 54 employees and,
Yep.
yeah.
So the idea is, and we've told Gallagher this, like, the opportunity for us to join again, like right now, we don't stand a chance of getting in just because of the amount of claims that we've had over the last few years with the different things that we've had going on. But they know that the second we have the opportunity to join, I'll present it to the board. I talked to a neighboring district and I think he said the most that they've increased over the last couple of years is like 10-11%.
Yeah.
That's what we were this
It's a
year's
way to
time.
control costs, yeah. So, and I think there's a buy-in factor too. So it didn't make sense when things were actually going down, but now that we've seen how many swings it can take, the second we have, that would be my recommendation, is to join as quickly as possible so we can help control costs that way.
Okay.
But that's all I got.
Good deal.
Do we have any topics we need to go to executive session for?
Nope.
Okay.
Personnel,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
All right,
Second.
5:25.
All in favor?
Yeah.